All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Nkateko Masinga, and it is my honor and privilege to be introducing our poet for this evening, who will be reading some poems for us today, and there will be some musical accompaniment as well. So it's going to be a wonderful evening. So our poet this evening is the brilliant Khulile Nxumalo. Khulile Nxumalo is a poet and filmmaker who lives in Diepkloof, Soweto. His documentary films have been shown mainly on SABC channels, and he has been a commissioning editor on a number of SABC programs. He currently works under the umbrella of Creative Soweto, which includes working with young people at Funda Centre on creativity and innovation. His documentary series, The Life and Times of Credo Mutwa, is part of a broader project on heritage, and traditional knowledge in Soweto, covering the sites of memory, sacred practices, and political identity. Nxumalo's poetry draws on several different forms, experimenting with multiple voices, musical improvisation, and variations of English and African languages. His poems have appeared in journals in South Africa, the UK, the USA, and Canada. His two poetry collections are 10 Flapping Elbows Mama, which was published in 2004, and fhedzi, which was published in 2013. Thank you so much for joining us, Khulile. It's such an honor to have you here. The floor is yours.
The knock and the plea, the knock and the plea, the knock and the plea, and only then the enter. The knock and the plea, the knock and the plea, the knock and the plea, and only then the answer. Thank you for inviting me and for the wonderful introduction. I'd like to begin with a poem called Saffronia, as if, which is dedicated to my friend Diepkloof and Jackie, who are both in America. As if I am now newer, pulled forever, ascend to these 197 steps of a city of stones. The streets that are ever newer avenues, the streets that line majorette stands, trees on both sides. The streets that are unjust, donga and bone. And as if of lately all my days, all my moons are silver, rotund sanctuaries, are mural mountains built on water, fire, and on air. As if I am now that kind of thinking, of that kind of oily and holy dwell, with hope, with laughter, or with frown, sengati, all bruised, beautiful things, velvet light, valid mood indigo, sassafras, a little sassafras for everybody, 600 million kilometers away from the inners of our sun. Yes, as bruised, beautiful things. We have now stopped to silo our story. And as we hurtle through the shimmer, the teeming hours that get more fuller and fuller, as if in civilizations of thin tunnels, it's said in a chorus, much it is ever said a border, as if in this address to them through a video on a hole of a door on my wall, I say, bring even the black water. I say, it's weighed upon both this and your other shoulder. As if when we with tongues drained dry, people that none of us can even see move between our houses, dragging long coats. If that's just what it is, wordless disdain, we shake our heads, arms akimbo. All hope, all wishes looks gone, dusted, flushed away. Houses are houses. They are not caves. They must be built brick by brick by brick. I wish as we start again, after we had all ceased to care, I wish it is now that we know that they don't belong to any of us, that none of them belong to our meridian, none of our gamut, that they no longer with what we see and what is here and headed here unseen. Because inside the frames of Gondreda, all our parts that fill all of the air that we breathe, the rage burns in a rat at the bottom of our calabash. As if now the needs to all the foreboding, as if I'm now filled up and I'm now a table of my large baobab dreams, said like all apostles, are solemn at every turn, at every soul of my battles, as if I am now within my own matrix movie mirror. Underneath me, meet my council of elders who say to me, under the decay that dogs our archives, deeper under an eternal image of fallen fragments, deeper underneath our low intensity breathing, deep inside the scenes, steeped deeper inside the mound of stones that are facing upside down, hidden very well. We gaze, our hopes, our prayers, our jackets, our suits, our underwear, socks that toil side by side. There's a stream that's been seen by all of us. We gaze, we turn the corner, and as if I am now so many portraits, as we all say, we like it here. We stand here. We stand in Peru. We stand in Mexico. We stand in Panama. We stand in Guatemala, as if we stand on our own satellite eye that just juts out, away from all those peaceless, loveless classes, races on their crazy ways and on their crusted egos. This is a poem called Blues Views Burning that I wrote at the memory as a young person while going to school and seeing the house that I'm reading from now after it's been burnt. Blues Views Burning. And I have not got a room with a view of my blues. Diepkloof sky shares a saxophone hole of air, lands right next to your feet that disappear, and I have not got a room with a view of my blues. Diepkloof sky yawns sunshine or lashes scorching tongues, but dry breeze, brah, it desiccates the leaves too. And I have not got a room with a view of my blues. It's night now. The blue sky peels off the roof just to gossip dark. Credo Mutwa's forum, burning in 76. The blue sky began to tremble, says fears for Credo's grim brim stampede. Credo Mutwa, graveyards he sees in a color TV. And I have not got a room with a view for my blues. And now for my collaborator in all of this, I'll ask Nkateko to bring up holding patterns to help us along in the poem for my mother, called 10 Flapping Elbows. beginning with a quote, quote unquote. There is the hill now, it stands firm like the wheel of time, but I will tear it apart, and in those days there shall be no sun. In Behold Mama Flowers. Blowing stones, saying nothing, getting scared, mother, when it gets shadowless and cramped. New days, new waiting for the porridge that smells skin tense. Come for me too. Tonight, the green still waters in the mood to throttle. Tonight, the still waters read in expanding circles, its colors uncertain. The sky is in the cast, the heart is feverish. Yellow bent near myself, bound my own fulfillment. Stalking and falling with ripe feet, very afraid of the treble of their palpitations. Trails in the horse forest, distant harmonica skin, such music in the brain's jungle. Sleep dry nights, mother, getting scared, mother, when the floor begins to heave and the hands keep manufacturing gaunt and sour sentences that walk off the page. I have misplaced knees and I have glued ends. Eyelids drop as droll forms. The pen is under me. It brays, rippling and very cold, cold like a gold. Underneath, a slaughterer's knife and power. For all of us, was it ever true that the pains inside our heads is inside of our heads becoming kettles of boiling passion, violent exits, for a number we can count on the fingers? Usithupazana lo, isidudla sami lesi. Ukhombisile lo, umthethi wamacala. Umdanyana lo, yena omude kakhulu. Uthembisile lo, umngani wendandatho. Ucikicane lo, themba lami leli. Themba lami leli. So eternally now. So let me down easy. I'm already cracked. I'm already dislocating. I have 2 inches of ambition next to a shopping center. Let us wave whilst there's still jokes to choke your anus on, whilst there's still giddy planes headed for the future, whilst there's still eyeballs and poems, up, up, up and away into a pimple sky that has holes. There are trains in South Africa, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, and still look at days with camoline eyes and trombones and entanglements that settle in, and the walking oppressed spirits that come into my eyes, and they come into the front of my mug of memories and the headlights and all the kind of music that brought to our air a new generation of questions. Goes just like metal dead plates that can fly over sea, they are broken to holes. Now we're going to mend our broken hands. We're going to kill the goat. Some moments are fine as they are. The metal dead beds, eternal cycles, flying ceaselessly. And as always, we are sweeping the hallways. And we see with blank eye the love between ourselves fall down between our painful gaggle and is flushed down the toilet pipes to where we don't know. So now we're going to mend the tattered souls and come here very often. Bring to me my sponge-headed arrow. That is a mountainous metal door. Bring to me my sponge-headed spree. bring to me my shoulder of madness. That is a neon song sifting between my fingers. The ninth pass had been delayed deliberately, mother, and the goat was slit, the blood was done so many things. Questions were put aside. And then the world was just one long crumple in each. The Builder's Bible. And now we're hoisting this stone, as we do when we see it in the morning, propping it unflinching to flutter in its light. There's a magenta smile, stretched without revealing. A circle of friends blinked by blink, by blink, by blink. Builds resistance against the viper's hissing speak. Now there's a bliss, a bubble drum, as you are coming from very far and very far, you flow, you return, you retrace, you are arriving. Then the lemon raisers, they left. And then the United States had left. And in the end, the blistered walls were crumbling across our face. There are love powers all over the place. Thank you. There was a lesson I was taught at a very young age, but it's not who said to me, when the world gives you doubt, just put on the music and dance. So this poem is for her. Dina, it was still you. I saw you step into a star and eat its light. I saw you. I saw the sea storyline join your eyes too. It was still you I saw pray, 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 pray for a long time until I went outside because the saxophone began to play. Play, play, play a phrase, a phrase. I'm now here to complete praise by praise by praise. My fingers slit, my toes holding into spasms, needles pins, and I'm steadying on this. And I said to all the mirrors, all glass windows, I said to myself, you are a shoulder on the hurricanes, on the reflections on a big day began. And then I start to remember a time for a heart that has come for it to see. It has come back from these cynical corners. Another help of Kalabo for my helper, Katego. A poem called In the Township Tonight. I'm not sure if you all know a very famous anthropology book by Professor David Copeland called In the Township Tonight about the cultural anthropology of nighttime in the township. Well, this is not about that. In the Township Tonight for our dearest silver folks. Run into the next century, rallies, and into the drums beaten up in rancor, into a weeping mother ocean, aboard the raging storm, a storm for all storms. Tonight, we're a small tour broader than our lament. We wear our names on our hearts. We zip our lips. We are sown till we reach the graves. Whose bent blood bones were found dug out in the middle of a football soccer field. And ever since then, we saw it all unfold in the dark between the small hours, deep and chill. Lights are gone, it is dark. It's the same story, day in, day out. We are loud, we are outside, sihlala sikhahlela with the shakers, forever in the roof of Lamapiano, forever in our own broadcast to the street. And anyone that is passing by, you cannot miss us. Sihlala siphakamisa ama-area. With bright adjusted eyes and a big bright moon high above. These days falls into my soul. It's so hard to tell when is it that is the brightest evening star. And as I look upon Earth from India's spacecraft that has just landed at the south side of that moon, as we stand here, I say it's you that's been holding me, that has just said something like, go, go, go and collect all of yourself. It will get dark. And the man who always moistened his lips with a lick of his own saliva and gained all the weight from eating up all of our archive. A mezzo soprano who was staging a sit-in inside the three walls that was all we had left, and our children are turning into ghosts. Our children are built upward along the steps that grow and picked up. Yet all the paces we need, they bend, and then they go low. They go low just like the mist on the forehead. A moment just before you enter Durban. It's no wonder many people join and sing out aloud with Brahu, with the sound he makes, pulling a pipe he chokes the chimney of a choo-choo coal train. There should be necklaces and pendants made out of a gold fashion that blows and whistles doo-doo, boo-boo, because that is the train, that is the smoke, the coughs, the black blood. But no, in every house is begot a village idiot. In every street, its own town crier. So cancel all the hype men. We live on top of one another. There are no secrets here. When it gets dark and it's time to see, we fall out onto the streets with high voices and look at the moon as if it will fall down. And we do so, we penetrate the dark. So there is nothing here that is sacred in this path. It is a life that lives longer and is lived lopsided and is lived broken to pieces. We crawl. Who is the most certain? Who brushes past? Who has hairs that formed long before they came out of their eyes? And who is the one that's staring back at us? But we step back, stripes and lights, time with bends, when it is that night that comes to the end, when even the sun does lift slow orange curtains, when we move more like the mulatto balls and roll into a moron. There is power this and power this and power this and power boxes. But we dry, man. So dry is unusually cold in this region. In our ears, in our hearts, we are dry, man. I hate it. I hate the ball that looks like when you look inside our eyes. I hate it when you look behind our head and how our life is told. But no one will tell you, here no one will tell you our permeated days of March, the Fafi number dream sequence. In the township tonight, the lights go out. We wear our names on our hearts, and bones are dug out in the middle of a football soccer field. bright like an evening star, and I say so. I say so. Immediately, let us all speak into the radios. I say so. That always is my voice that's trying to seek you. And it gets louder, gets louder. So now I think I know. Amatambo ayakhuluma. Amatambo ayakhuluma. Now I think I know. Imimoya, imimoya. Emoyeni uyaliwa. Emoyeni kuliwa njalo. Emanzini kuyasindiswa. In the dark breath of a night, when the lights go, the light is gone. So funyu, 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 that is us wading in the river. Perhaps of a round breathing stone, and our song has such a nice low brow hiss. It's sprawling like a Columbus cloud, and rains thick pebbles onto the mountain. So I say, hey, we gone to the ocean, we gone to the ocean along the 3,000-kilometer coastal skirt, all of it stretched out with a little wild smile and green teeth come out. The deeds that have been done. Our oil, our paper, our paraffin, our polystyrene, the darkish bruised scenes that we keep sending to the sea. But row, my brother, we do. We row our dough. We row it until it becomes a big hyperbole. We row. Rock soil, we row sand, we row river, we row estuary. Until no one will see that is just some oblong spectre that lacks luster, that steals the light from the sun. Thank you, Kate. I hope the call song from Juliana was heard. I'd now like to do some works from other writers. Not so much that they write like me, but I would say a part of what has come out of this almost 3-4 year workshop that I've been in this time, out of which the Kwala sessions with Sihle came out of, and the book Call and Fell has been written. The first poem is called Meditation on Two Things by Stephen Dunn from America. The setting for joy is really weight of cares. That real place, that bed or playing field is where we are stand, and the body is all fog and disbelief, and we are making animal sounds or a new kind of silence. I remember feeling it afterwards driving home or the next day waking with it like sunlight on my face. I remember calling it joy over the phone and collecting it into a single word, to suffering. We all know stories worse than our own, but I knew a good place for it, in the space between two garages, hidden by bushes. I was a child then, and once I stayed there an entire day and night. I was in pajamas, weeping. Before long, I knew how much they'd miss me, how happy I could make them. 3. Last week, the wife of a friend threw her baby out the window, proving that all settings are wrong if we are wrong or lost or crazy. For her, there's no hiding. no place to run to. But across the street, the park is full of skaters. Balloons rise above the trees and wind without rudder. And wind again is king. 4. The sky won't stay still. This must account for its history of blueness. I know I've followed a lone scud going nowhere at dusk and become the scud. I've pursued things long after they were over. Always I wanted someone to stop me. Isn't joy a kind of stillness at the top of something before the long falling? The next poem is from Rosario Castellanos from Mexico. It's called Silence Concerning an Ancient Stone. Here I am seated with all my words like a basket of green food intact. The fragments of a destroyed ancient gods, the fragments of 1,000 destroyed ancient gods seek and draw near each other in my blood. They long to rebuild their stature and statue. From their shattered mouths, the song strives to rise to my mouth. A scent of burnt resins, some gesture of mysterious wrought stone. But I am oblivion. I'm treason, the shell that did not keep from the sea, even the echo of the smallest wave. I look not at the submerged temples, but only at the trees that are above the ruins, that move their vast shadow and with acid teeth bite as the wind passes. And the seals close under my eyes like flour underneath the fingers of a blind man. But I know behind my body, another body crouches. And round about me, many breaths furtively cross like nocturnal beasts in the jungle. I know somewhere, like the cactus in the desert, a constellated height of spines is awaiting for a name. Yes, the cactus awaits the rain. But I know only a few words in the lapidary language under which they buried my ancestors alive. Now, someone closer to home, Professor Mazisi Munene from Ancestors in the Mountains. A poem called A Message to a Silent Form on the Sheer of a Cliff. Like a rock gazing into space, like the skies crouched on the horizon, like a mountain range guarded by a team of black bulls, like a jungle mourning eternity, like doors of ruined villages, like a face with eyes closed eternally, like a pole overgrown with poisonous mushrooms, like a desert wounded by the wind, like a lake in the midst of a bitter night, like a gigantic cave inhabited by a cluster of swallows. And like this, you are silent, carved on a stone by time and endless night, weighted on by southern stars and flowing rivers, immovable, blind, mouth about to speak. Nothing leads to your sacred grounds. Not even the gentle tribe of baboons can wake you. Not the children at play on the white sand. Not even the strangers who are innocent. You are like Nohem, the assassin. Like hair, you have the face of iron. And finally, something from, I call him my brother from another mother, Alan Finlay and Philip Joao. Their book, The Red Laughter of Guns in Green Summer Rain, out of which I was inspired to do the work with Sishen Tulong chain poem and other chain poems that I've done. It's called Doro Remudzimu, the Shona Festival of Beer and Lightning. Out there, dry gold of dry grass, anxious for the pain throb of drums. Some saying, is the night young for the spirit made to stand? Too young for the hyenas have begun to walk by the cattle crawl, to moan, oh, spirit woman, your voice has arisen. How the mountains tremble in the dark caverns of our hearts. Your eyes tonight give this spring light, moon in the hands. Where should we go for this spring feast festival of moons? The moth between woods, the clouds hung over like haunted eyelids. The shy bird groans, cropping fields with his moving, unexplaining palm. By the river, green of reeds has gone dry. No crocodile prowl, the moon is on, and the maiden stand and gaze at you. Oh, you dogs of death, should your bark last forever? How am I doing, Katego, for time?
You've got time. Continue.
How much time? Because I'd like to do my last poem.
Okay.
Yeah, is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
All right. My last poem is a poem I did for a very dear friend of mine, Johannes Pokela, the artist. It's called The Governor and the Mayor. Amaphupho, izinto, ditoro, lidinto, lemanaka, adingaka, sadingwaha, ngwaha, 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 ngwaha. So this governor and this mayor run this town from the council chambers up above on the rooftops of your houses in a digital era where its fully fledged glare is looking into our souls. And it has a score, a deep score, this governor and this mayor. They see nothing wrong with neighbors liking one another and get along. And they head face towards one direction until they arrive at a house. And they set that lawn alight. A flaming tower drives mine, and it drives yours, it drives everybody's skin. A mob rushes there, and it gets cloaks, it gets embellishments, and maybe even a new tale, even a nation self-gazing myth. One was found very far at the outskirts, a broken heel, but also a tail on a bow, a shrill somewhere, a daily sun headline somewhere, rodents as big as your hand. And now the soil even comes down to the mountain's feet. It was the governor who then said, the queen is dead. The pillow fights must take place around a ring of fire. Noises bubbled by insolence must cut out and put them into 4 small boxes. And those who just want to end it all with a gun to the temple, the glamour, their visions lower and lower and lower, go dimmer. And love and the smallest smile sometimes always comes with the dawn, because it always does. But then at night, the governor and the mayor are always ready, like a vehicle, clad in orange, red, silver-lined reflectors, so as to make that night a little brighter than another. Many, 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 many faces like tonight you will see. At times, everything played itself out backward. At times, a wall that is stuck in stasis. Millions and millions of years at times. Yet, that we will reach the farthest corners, the governor and the mayor, in this, our strangest century. Thank you so much for bearing with me. That was all I had for you.
Can we all unmute ourselves so we can give Khulile Nxumalo a round of applause?
An applause.
Yes.
Thank you.
That was absolutely wonderful. So as you were reading, so I just want to begin the Q&A with a question of my own. I was thinking about the imagery in your poems, and I think some of them read a lot like short stories because I could see the picture in my mind. And yet with some there was the one about the views, the room and the views, and I felt like, okay, there's a refrain. So it was like a song, you know, it felt like a song that had a refrain, and others felt like stories. So I just want to know from you, how do you build these worlds that exist in your poems? It seems as if you are a very observational person, that you observe the world around you and write what you have witnessed. Is that correct? It just, with
Yeah.
the poems that feel like short stories, it's as if you're taking us through a scene and you build it so it's so vivid that one can see in the descriptions that you give the worlds that you are building. So where does that come from?
I'll answer it in two ways. In general, I would imagine all of us, I would say even the whole spectrum of creative people with this creative thing that bugs them, makes them not sleep, makes them be unlike other people, makes them sometimes earn less money than other. Is that we have this thing of always watching the world, sometimes always feeling the pain of it much more, harder. Like I remember when the stories of the children in Soweto that were dying from the stuff bought in the spaza shops. It was happening around us. Myself and the healers that I work with, there was much more intense pain of it. I think. I don't think other people go around the world not feeling anything. It is really impossible. Even Donald Trump or even Patrice Mutsi or whatever, I'm sure they feel something about the world because there are painful aspects about the world. So you're always watching, yeah. And I think what makes it worthwhile to have been stuck with this burden is that you find a way to express it, whether through painting, whatever. So to write means that you have to observe. I think you have to observe the world. But with me, from a very early time when I was trying to become a poet, and I was quite fortunate, and I can see he's here today, that the idea of the voice, what is your voice in the poem? Um, 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 I was like almost workshopped through it because I used to send stuff to when Robert was still editor of Mutwa. And at the time, he had time to can write back to us and say, but blah, 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 blah. And then he also produced, I think it was a disc or a little booklet called Finding Your Voice in the Poem, you know. So that helped me develop my craft. Um, 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 so first of all, I know when a poem does not work, it does not satisfy, like it does not, you know. And that's what editing, the gift of being able to edit your poem gives you, to be able to make the poem to speak, take out the superfluous stuff, or take out the stuff that you are writing because of the I'm going to be a bit rude. The poem that you opened with, and the life of Utigeni that I know of in the end, may not match, if you know what I mean. I don't know if you will say all the images that were there of glorious things are the same, you know. So the Tigeni that wrote the La Pom Pom country and the Tigeni that we know being shot at it, whatever, might be too different. So he might even edit that the La Pom Pom country into a different poem. Um, um, so there is the work that you have to do. You can't, I mean, I don't know if there's people who do that, but you can't say, I've written a poem first draft and it's done. You know, you work at the poem. Sometimes you put it aside because it's the first expression, and then you have to know what is your voice in that poem, and that voice has to be true. Because if it is untrue, then the poem becomes untrue. So it's observation, of course, which is what we do because of being artistic people, but also having a way to work at your craft. In this case, poetry. And I think as well because of doing films, because when you do a film, you shoot 2 hours, but you make it assists. Is one of the ways that I got to be assisted to get to the essence of what the thing has to say. I don't know if that answers you. I hope it does.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. With what you were saying about constantly editing a poem, I think that there's I think there's an argument for saying that a particular version of the poem speaks to a moment in time. So
True.
even as much as you say that the late Sandile Dikeni would have probably edited that poem, that the love poem for the country would have looked different in modern times. If you think of a poem like City Johannesburg, by Mongane Wale Serote. The city Johannesburg that exists now is very different to the one that's spoken of in that poem. So is there not on your part an argument for speaking to a specific moment in time?
Wait, so City Johannesburg is about the inhumanity of being treated as a non-human, where they hold the past. That still happens in different ways in the city of Johannesburg. It might even be done by the Black Metro Cops even. Um, um, what I'm talking about is a what you would need to. I don't know if you know this, that there was a particular era of poetry that came out of the Congress of South African Writers, sort of Credo, whatever. Um, I mean, I was lucky that I only came after that. So we had like Mzwakhe Mbulu who would say poems to arouse a whole stadium before the speech starts. So part of the political motivation was to create propaganda of that type, advertising or billboard, if you know what I mean. And for myself and the people that I respect that are writers, I don't think that's what it's what I call the paraffin steam thing. It dissipates, and when it does, it's embarrassing. Because, well, unless if you believe the glorious love poem for my country, my people love to. I live in Diepkloof, so I see a very different reality from what you read.
I hear you. I hear you.
Thank you.
Shark has a question.
Yeah,
Shark, go ahead.
So Khulile, that was a gorgeous reading. I really look forward to reading those poems in print as well.
Thank you. Talk to Robert.
Yeah.
It's got everything.
I was fascinated by the repetitions.
Oh.
Sometimes I felt as if you were almost heightening the despair, and sometimes it felt like ritual, almost like sacred ritual, that you were taking something being desecrated and making it sacred again. I don't know if you want to say it, but a lot of it approximated to music. I don't know if you want to say something.
It's incantation, basically.
Yes, yes.
It's what we do even in the gospel church. It's almost incantation is why I opened with the idea of Isingeni is that you always bow yourself before the greatness.
Yes.
And it always comes with some kind of an incantation. When we do rituals with our ancestors, when we do rituals in other ways, there is some kind of we bow. So it's incantation in that way. It's also incantation if you listen to Coltrane's attempts to get out of the village street New York jazz thing that was thing. You get that thing. But I mean, you also get it in Eastern, in like the bells in the Buddhas. It's the same thing. Incantation.
Okay.
Robert has a question. Good evening, Robert. You may go ahead.
Yeah, this isn't so much a question, it's more like a response. I just like the way, the form that you've developed, which is in incantation too, but the way it keeps moving, it never, I like the whole vibe that it doesn't, nothing stops it. Nothing stops the narration. It will go around, you know, it'll get stuck, it'll get sort of hesitant, and then it goes forward. So it just, the whole thing keeps going forward in this kind of incantatory, slightly repetitive way, but it's that power of we will go forward. Nothing's going to stop us. I like the whole way you've developed that form. It's powerful.
Yeah. I mean, you would remember from the difficult attempts on crafting and into the whistl's nostrils, the strange children who were sweeping the soil off the soil. I suppose in that sense you could see it in a dramatic way, in that it's plot that my character, my speaker, my voice cannot be at the same position as they are at the beginning as at the end. Even if the world, I mean, this reading came at a time where I'm seeing the world as we're all like in gray cauldrons, really, you know. So and depressing things are being said all the time. I've even stopped listening to the news. So it's, but hope, faith, and the idea of that you cannot kill us all is the idea that we carry dead.
Oh, thanks.
And I mean, it's also a thing that I think I learned from Siklama Mutsapi, LKJ, and Kamau Brathwaite. That sense of if you listen, if you read Masks from Kamau, and if you read not Roses for the Folks You Know, but okay, the one that starts with the okay, can we start?
Yeah.
From Siklama.
Sun used to be white, I think.
Yeah, the sun used to be white. I must remember that. Okay, can we start now? The Fela Kuti thing.
Do we have any more questions from the floor? While we're still waiting for others to ask their questions, I wanted to ask you about Blue Views Burning. It's so beautiful, and I just love the repetition of, and I have not got a room with a view for my blues. Is that like blues as in music or blues as in sadness? Can it be interpreted both ways?
Blues is in sadness.
Sadness, all right.
Like I said when I began, where I'm at right now,
Yeah.
the house of Ubabisanu Credo. That was spent in 1976. I work here with the healers. I mean, it's a very sad story. I did a film about the story of the burning, so I know the family. But then it's now become a training school because the daughter is now a Kobela. People are coming in droves to train under the Credo. So no, it's not a blues as in it's a music. It's more blues as in the searing sadness of pain.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. So are we happy to conclude the question and answer portion? Well, if there are no more questions, then I think we can conclude the Q&A and we'll take a break. We'll take a 5-minute break and then we will be back for the open mic. So we will be back at 2040.
Well, I just also wanted to say, I don't know if I did say, the reading is dedicated to the memory of my mother. That's her father, that's my mother, and my sister, who's passed away 4 years ago. Pauline Nokwena Masha. Togos. Thank you.
Togos.